I'm Claire Mackay. I'm a professor of neuroscience at the University of Oxford, and a couple of years ago I started opening up about living with body-focused repetitive behaviours. I thought it was about time I made an introductory video to tell you about what these behaviours are and how they can affect people like me. Body-focused repetitive behaviours, or BFRBs, are things like picking or pulling or biting at our hair or our skin or our nails. And we all do these things a bit because they are normal grooming behaviours. But for some of us, for some reason, once we start, we find it incredibly difficult to stop. And that can cause all sorts of physical problems and can cause a lot of distress. I've bitten my nails since I was a small child, and that never really bothered me very much. But when I was about 12 years old, I started to pull out my hair, and that's always bothered me a great deal. I lived with my hair pulling as a secret shame for nearly 40 years, and I found it nearly impossible to talk about it. But now that I've started to open up about my BFRBs, there are a few things that I wish more people knew that I think would make life easier for those of us who live with them. Number 1, BFRBs exist. I come across so many people who've either never heard of them or experienced them and thought that it was only them. But excessive hair pulling and skin picking are known conditions that can be found in medical diagnostic manuals. The official Latin names are pretty horrendous, but just like any other medical or neurodevelopmental condition, BFRBs are not a choice and they are not a character flaw. Number 2, the urges that we experience are uncontrollable. I don't make a deliberate, conscious decision to pick or pull or bite at myself, which means I can't simply decide not to. It's a bit like when we need to scratch an itch. The harder you try to resist, the worse the urge gets. There are ways to learn how to manage how I respond to my urges, but being told to just stop it when it's something I struggle so hard to control doesn't really work, and it can make me feel worse. Number 3. BFRBs are quite common. Probably around 5% of us experience problematic urges to pick or pull or bite. They often start when we're young, and adolescence is the most common time for hair pulling and skin picking to start. Some people grow out of their BFRBs or experience them for just a limited period of time. But for some of us, the urges become chronic and we can live with them for decades or even a whole lifetime. Number 4. BFRBs are not a symptom of another disorder. BFRBs do share some features and can co-occur with other disorders such as anxiety, OCD, self-harm or ADHD, but they're not the same thing, and it's important that we don't sweep them under the carpet of other disorders because we need to be able to understand them properly in order to find ways of helping people manage them effectively. Number 5. Our brains are designed to keep us safe. We might like to think that our actions are all the result of conscious choice, but so much of our behaviour is driven by preset programs in our brains that have evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to keep us safe and regulated. I think of my BFRBs as being a kind of short circuit in these brain systems. I can get stuck in a loop of trying to self-soothe, but then feeling ashamed of what I'm doing, which just gives me more reason to need to self-soothe. Number 6. BFRBs can cause a lot of distress, and they can stop people from living their lives to the full. People with BFRBs often experience a lot of shame. That makes it really hard to talk about, and even harder to ask for help. Unfortunately, the shame that we experience is often amplified by stigma. For example, I've had the experience of people being shocked, horrified or even disgusted by my BFRB behaviours on the one hand, and then on the other hand completely dismissive of the distress that I might be feeling. You've already helped to reduce the stigma by watching this video, but now you can do more by sharing it. If you or someone you love is struggling with BFRBs, there are some great organisations that offer advice and support and community so that you can connect with other people who know exactly how this feels. I'll link them in the description below. I'm just getting started with creating content like this, and it would be great to know if you have any questions about BFRBs that you'd like me to answer. Stick them in the comments and then subscribe so that you don't miss the answers.